Darkworlds Paris, Darkworlds Book 2. Written and narrated by Tony Walker. London, 2027. Believe me, you don't know how insecure your life is until you take a good hard look. You're just living, then it all unravels. Since I began with Darkworlds, things have changed markedly in my life. For one thing, I'm no longer a worker drone exiled in dangerous anarchic outer London. I'm now living in Gary Preston's apartment in Hampstead, a place I could never afford on my wages, if I had any wages anymore. But he feeds me and houses me and says it's all because of my fantastic personality. That's a joke. No, really, it's a joke. You might remember when Miskatonic Games tested my personality way back at the start of this. It lit up all their systems and they all wanted me to join their gang. Seems like I'm wired up in a way that Miskatonic want. But I didn't join them. I joined Preston's gang. Not through ever wanting to join up with anyone, anytime. That never changed. But I figured joining Preston's guild, Ordo Lux Lucis, the Order of Light, was the best bet if I wanted to keep what remained of my shredded sanity. Right now, however, we're not in Preston's house overlooking leafy Hampstead Heath. In fact, we're in an obscure part of outer London whose location must remain secret. Kept secret because the game developers, Miskatonic, are after us, in and out of the game itself, in real London 2027 and in game London 1927. Mysteries within mysteries and plots within plots. It's enough to send a man crazy, the things that came out of the code and creep inside your mind. But we're fighting back. Where we are now is a laboratory. It's funded by the Order of Light, and so I'm guessing there must be some wealthy members because equipment like this isn't cheap. The doctor here, John Whittaker, is cutting off the top of a man's skull with a circular saw. It's just like a saw you might do some woodworking with, except it's specialized for bone, with a diamond edge. Dr. Whittaker has a lady doctor assistant. I didn't catch her name, but she's one of us too. One of the guild, I mean. I know she's pretty because I saw her before she put on her protective clothing, but now she's wearing a mask and goggles so the spray from the cadaver doesn't get into her mouth and eyes as Dr. Whittaker gets busy with his saw. My guildmaster, Gary Preston, is sitting next to me in his nice suit jacket and pants, shiny handmade shoes and a Savile Row shirt. I'm wearing camo pattern cargo pants and an old Hawkwind t-shirt. We're masked too, because we don't want a mouthful of cadaverine either. The whine of diamond-edged steel cutting through bone sets my nerves on edge. Then, as Dr. Whittaker puts down his saw, there's worse to come. He asks the pretty lady doctor to help, and together they lift off the top of the guy's head. They didn't bother to shave his head completely, so lank brown hair pastes the skull top as it comes off with a pop. That pop is nearly the worst thing I've experienced, but the worst thing actually is the stench. My stomach heaves and I put the back of my hand to my mouth through the nylon face mask. I retch. Jeez. Preston's got his hand up to his mouth too, shaking his head, trying to recover. The doctors seem used to it. They give us a minute. They may even be smiling under their masks. Who can tell? I don't really want to look at what they've uncovered, but a deviant fascination pulls my eyes to what's in the unfortunate man's head. I point. What the fuck is that in his brain? Preston holds up his hands at my bad manners. I'm guessing he wants me to be more respectful and ask polite questions, but Dr. Whittaker nods to me. Whatever he's got in his head, I'm betting you have it in yours too. Involuntarily, my hand goes to my scalp and I try to scratch the itch deep inside. It's been there for weeks now, since I started playing Darkworlds, and it seems to be getting worse. Preston says, so this guy is one of the cold ones. Whittaker nods, yes, recovered from their dump in Walthamstow. I turn to Preston. Miskatonic has a dump for their game casualties. The cold ones are those of us who are unfortunate enough to die in the game. Though becoming a cold one, as Miskatonic called them, might be better than becoming a warm one. The warm ones lose their sanity in the game, and then Miskatonic ships them to lunatic asylums, both inside and outside Darkworlds, for research and power. It seems the entities inside the game run on the combined neural power of the warm ones as they slip, slide, and stumble inside their crazy dreams. Preston nods. A big dump. Whitaker bends over the unfortunate man. With steel forceps, he begins to move aside the slimy grey, corrugated neocortex of the man's brain. My eyes are once again drawn to the threads of wet silk that run through the grey matter. I gesture. Surely that can't be normal. Dr. Whitaker speaks through his mask. Increasingly normal. These are threads of gamma amyloid protein. English? Preston says. Whitaker shrugs as if forced to explain the rules of cricket to a dog. Beta amyloid protein tangles cause Alzheimer's disease. The tangles disrupt brain connectivity by wrapping round pathways. But these aren't tangles. They are organized. You said gamma amyloid, though, I say. Whitaker's voice changes tone as if I'm a promising pupil. I did. Similar to beta amyloid, but more fibrillogenic due to the C-terminal extensions that adds 2 additional hydrophobic amino acids. I nod slowly. Good. I'm glad I asked. Whitaker continues. But these gamma amyloids are not accidental. Everything points to them deliberately growing to infiltrate all major brain structures. The amygdala, important because the amygdala is central to emotional response, especially fear. The cerebellum, which has motor functions, and the brain stem, which controls functions fundamental to life, like being awake, maintaining blood pressure, and respiratory function, in part anyway. Preston says, so it's the spread of this protein? This network of proteins. Sure, this network of proteins. It's that turns people crazy. Whitaker shakes his head. Not exactly, though I doubt it helps. The protein seems to be prompting the excretion of dopamine and serotonin and another neurotransmitter that seems quite novel. In any case, they are stimulating the D1 and S1 receptors, and it's those that are implicated in both auditory and visual hallucinations, and also in the growth of paranoid delusions. Preston sits back. Whitaker takes off his mask, revealing a surprisingly young face. He's got reddish-brown hair, and he only looks to be about 30. His assistant takes off her mask too, and she really is pretty, blonde and blue-eyed, but a strong, high-cheekboned face like she wouldn't take any messing. Whitaker's smiling. You won't know this, but in my spare time I'm into communication systems, electronics and such like. So, neurosurgeon by day, radio nerd by night. Kind of, but I'm a neuropathologist, really. Good, I say with a smile. He jabs a finger towards the cold guy's exposed brain without looking at it. Thing is, that network looks like a control system. It's Preston's turn to talk. I don't know how tight the Order of Light keeps its information, but it seems that what he's about to reveal is news to Dr. Whitaker. Preston scratches his chin and begins. So, we believe that the protein network is a receiving system, and that its growth is enhanced by the wearing of Miskatonic's neural nets. The ones you wear to play the game, the pretty young doctor asks. This is the first time she's spoken. She has a nice voice, light but confident and clever. Exactly. Probably also use of the Dreamland inducer tablets speeds up its growth. You know, the tablets you get to get the full realer-than-real experience from Darkworlds. It's this network that seems to allow the entities in the game, I add the so-called great old ones. Preston frowns at my intervention, then continues, to begin to control people in real life. Whitaker scratches his head. But we're seeing the growth of these protein networks in people who've never played Darkworlds. Preston nods. Yes, they're starting to inhabit Wi-Fi networks. So anyone in range of a Wi-Fi network will see the development of the proteins in their brains. Just it's faster when you wear a neural net. Whitaker slips his mask back on. By the way, did you see this? He picks up a scalpel and, taking it with his forceps, casually cuts into the cadaver's brain, going deeper, as if to find the root of the protein strands. I stand up to get a better look. Peering into the brain to where he's holding apart the glistening white and grey jelly, I see what looks like a pure white hen's egg. He prods it with his forceps and it wobbles. That's the middle of it. That's where it starts. Like it's been implanted. Preston shakes his head. Not planted, seeded by things beyond our understanding. The lady doctor asks, "But what's all this for?" Preston's face goes grim. "So they can take us all over, both inside and outside the game." 15 minutes later, we're out of the path lab and sitting in the small kitchen area that the staff use. I don't know if the Order of Light owns this whole place or whether we've just got people we trust here. "By the way, Adam, this is Dr. Fell." The blonde woman nods and smiles. "Sally to my friends." We've got coffees now and the steam spirals up from my cup. I introduce myself. Adam Harker. "I'm very curious about these protein receivers in our brain," I say. "So the clever thing is not to play Darkworlds so that you don't get the stuff growing in your head." Whitaker shakes his head. "Like I said before, it grows anyway. Just quicker with the neural net headset and the tablets Miskatonic provide with the game pack." Preston says, "And in fact, the clever thing is actually to play Darkworlds. In fact, it's the only solution." "Because?" Sally asks, brushing her straight blonde hair from her forehead. Her eyes are light blue like robin's eggs. She has a dusting of freckles on her cheeks. "Because these entities don't yet exist outside the game." "Yet?" I say. He shrugs. "It's a matter of time before they come out. They're already extending tendrils into the interweb, but weakly so far. Darkworlds is their home. It's in the Darkworlds code that they first came to sentience. They're still hiding in the trillions of lines of code. That is their home." She's clever. "So the only way to combat them is to find them in the game." "And beat them," Preston says. He smiles at me. "That's our job." He looks serious. "Your job." Like I said, I've never really been a joiner. I'd always seen myself as a lone wolf. But I know that without the support of Preston and the Order of Light, like Dr. Fell and Dr. Whitaker, I stand no chance, and I'll go under. We'll all go under. I'm scared. These things have killed people, sent them mad, people I cared for. I know I need to step up before it's all too late. I say, "But where do we start?" "In Paris. They have a research hospital there." I grimace. "How the hell am I going to get to Paris? I don't even have access privileges to get into central London, and that's only a few miles away. People like me aren't allowed to travel across national borders." Preston shakes his head. "You're misunderstanding me, Adam. I agree it would be too difficult to get you into real inner Paris. But that's not where they are anyway. They're in the game. So where is the research hospital?" "We don't know exactly." "Okay. But it's somewhere in Paris in 1927. And you want me to go there?" "Exactly."